Happy Friday, everyone. I'm Nuria.
And I'm Frank.
And welcome to another episode of ITT Podcast, which stands for In This Together Podcast. Our podcast is our honest take on relationships, love, and marriage, with the aim of sharing our views and experiences for you to take from it whatever you need.
So whether you're single, dating, in a relationship, or happily married, there is something in it for you.
Hi everyone. Today's episode is called Is Marriage Worth It? And we're going to be talking about whether or not we think marriage is declining. We'll also give you a few facts around the world concerning marriage and divorce rates. We'll talk about whether we think marriage is worth it and why, as well as what marriage means to us specifically. And we'll also give our views on what we think people need to know before getting into a marriage. So firstly, on statistics. Just for clarification, all of the statistics and facts we mention relate to heterosexual marriages, and our views are obviously also from that perspective, and that is the only experience we can truly speak from. Okay, so on the marriage stats, in August last year in the UK, ONS, the Office of National Statistics, published its latest annual statistics for marriages in England and Wales from the year 2019. So obviously 2019 was the last full pre-pandemic year when things were quote unquote normal. And with the effects of the lockdown, 2019 is the most reliable and recent year for the official marriage statistics. So the figures from the 2019 report state that marriage rates have fallen to their lowest on record since 1862 in 2019, and that actual marriages have fallen by 50% since 1972. You can find those statistics for the UK on the Office of National Statistics website, which is ons.gov.uk. Going across the Atlantic to the US, the United States Census Bureau report suggests that marriage rates dropped from 2009 to 2019, and that 40 to 50% of marriages are likely to end in divorce in the US. Interestingly, though, usually second or third marriages in the United States have a higher divorce rate, with 60% of second marriages and about 73% of third marriages also ending in divorce. Those statistics are on the United States Census Bureau website. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD.org website, which includes statistics for other countries like Australia, most of Europe, Japan, and Portugal, just to name a few, indicates that globally the divorce rate has been rising, going from around 12% in the 1960s to 48% in 2022. That is a whopping increase of over 251%. When we look at available statistics for marriage and divorce rates within Africa, as a continent, marriage rates in Africa differ by region. In Northern Africa, trends in marriage over time are roughly similar to the United States and Europe, steadily decreasing over the past few decades, as you can expect. Divorce data has also been really limited for the continent of Africa, but from the data available, divorce rates are substantially lower in Africa than the United States and Europe, regardless of the region in Africa. But as you can imagine, divorce is also more common in cities than in rural areas, and there's various reasons for this. Although marriage rates began to decline in many African countries in the 1970s, marriage still remains the norm across the continent. In some capitals and large cities, the trend towards a longer single life and later age of first marriage is definitely there though. So people are still gravitating towards being single for longer and getting married a bit later in life, even in Africa. The source for this can be found on www.healthymarriageinfo.org. And lastly, the statistics have shown that the most common reasons for divorce include lack of commitment, excessive arguing, infidelity, and marrying too young as well. So that's the statistics, that's the kind of facts on marriage. What do you think of that, Frank?
Yeah, that's a very interesting. Well, I must say I'm not surprised with those stats. There is a feeling that marriage is declining. Even though when we look within our communities, people we know, family, friends, people are getting married.
But attitudes are changing, aren't they?
Changing, yeah. People are getting married, but it feels like a lot more people are getting divorced.
Yeah.
The attitudes definitely changed towards staying in the marriage than I would say in past generations.
But there's so many reasons for that.
There is.
And that's kind of the interesting part about the question, do we think marriage is declining? I mean, firstly, do we think marriage is declining? Do you think marriage is declining?
Well, the statistic says the marriage is declining, but I guess I don't feel like marriage is declining. But what I do feel is an increase in divorce. It feels like a lot of people are getting married. When you look on social media, you see quite a lot of weddings taking place. I do feel like the lockdown has pushed back a lot of marriages that would have taken place over the last 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And some people are probably playing catch up, or some marriages never happened because of lockdown. So but I don't feel like it's declining. I do feel like
divorce is increasing. Yeah.
I do feel like divorce is increasing. What about you?
I feel the same way. I feel like I'm seeing a lot more of marriage around, weddings and stuff like that. But I do think that is probably because we're much more tapped into social media. Social media is just completely a different beast from what it was 10 years ago, for example. So I feel like we see so much more of people's lives now. So we probably feel like there's a lot more marriages taking place, and it probably isn't. It's probably just, a few and what we're in proximity to. But I definitely agree with you that there's definitely more divorce. And it could just be age as well. Maybe we're of the age that we're going to see a lot more people divorcing, because now there was a point where we were at an age where we were seeing a lot more people get married. And now a lot of people we know are already married, been married. But, statistics like we've just read out across the UK, Europe, Africa, where the statistics are available, it's clear that there is an increase in divorce rates. There is a decline in marriage rates. I just found it interesting that the most common reason for divorce was lack of commitment, that kind of lack of tolerance as well, like you were saying, to certain things. But then I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing either. Lack of tolerance, it really depends on what we're being asked to tolerate. And that's the problem. Like in the past, we didn't know what people were going through as much as we probably do now, because society is so much more open. People really do express themselves a lot more. Everything is about mental health and well-being, and society is a lot more about the individual than it used to be. It used to be more about the community and groups of people. Now it's more about you, yourself, what you think, what you feel, and sharing that experience. Right.
I agree. But also as well, there's also an angle of the influence of social media on relationship and on marriage as well, in terms of when you think about probably the 30s, the 40s and 50s, it was just you and your wife. There was hardly any outside influences. You may have your relatives, but I would imagine back then it's probably an influence of stay in the marriage, working things out, let's discuss what's going wrong. But now it's like, you see other people's lives on social media. People they portray certain things about their marriages which may not be true, but you see couples on holidays and just the painting this picture, and then it makes your relationship, your marriage, makes it feel like it's doing the worst.
It's not.
Do you understand?
Which is true, because that couple that's sharing what they're sharing, they're only sharing the good moment. They're just sharing something good that's happening. And that's what social media is about. It's supposed to be about sharing the good things, And so because of that, you really get a warped view of people's relationships. And then as a result, you then judge your relationship probably a bit more harshly. Because
just normal things that you could have sat down with your partner, with your husband, your wife, and just have a discussion about it. It's blown out proportions. A bit more like, why can't I have this type of relationship? Why can't I have that? I deserve that.
It's not fair.
Not saying you don't deserve that.
Yeah.
But whatever's out there, you don't know what they're going through.
Yeah. It's like an illusion almost.
An illusion.
They might be having the exact same relationship as you, but you're projecting your feelings of what you think their relationship is on your marriage, and then you're saying, well, that's what my marriage should be, and it's like that's not even what their marriage is.
So that's I feel like that's really dangerous. I personally believe that that's have a lot of impact on why marriages have not worked out, or why relationships
especially probably in the last, I would say, 10 years or 5 to 10 years, because that was the social media marriage boom, where you have like the wedding pages and the people going viral for their weddings being a certain way, and it became
setting the standards for what marriages should be like in terms of like, you know, how social media is seen. But we'll discuss social media a bit more
as another topic.
Yes.
Yeah, that's on our list of things to discuss as well. So we'll definitely touch on social media a lot more in other topics to come. Another thing I found interesting about whether or not marriage is declining is the facts about marriage in Africa and some of the stuff that came out of that. And it was interesting just to see kind of like the way they separated kind of sub-Saharan Africa and North Africa. And in the Northern Africa, trends in marriage over time being roughly similar to the United States and Europe. And so it's interesting to see that the westernization, the world is becoming a lot more westernized quite collectively. And so there's a lot of influence coming from United States, Europe. And I'm not saying divorce influence, obviously. I'm just saying we're influencing each other because we're so much more connected through social media. Yeah. So we're starting to have like one view of marriage that's kind of going across the world. But Africa still, you know, marriage rates are still a lot higher because of that kind of cultural element of it. But I found it interesting that there was this kind of correlation between the westernization of other countries and, you know, Africa, etc., and how that's kind of mimicking itself in the divorce rates.
Yeah, but doesn't cut across the rural areas.
Yeah, where the tradition is still probably strong.
Yeah. So,
but is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? And I think that's one of those things that it's an interesting point. Me and you talk about it all the time in terms of how much of tradition and marriages lasting a really long time in the past was genuinely because people worked on it and wanted their marriage to last over time, and how much of it was just because of the fact that times were different and tradition kind of prohibited divorce, and you how dare you even talk about divorce, you know?
Yeah. I do believe that back then the opportunities that people had isn't the same as what we have now. I think women are more empowered now to have careers. It was not the way it was before.
Yeah, even in Africa now. You know,
women, you know, they have their own business. You know, they have a lot more freedom to be themselves. So they can decide that no, if they were not happy in a marriage, they can decide to end the marriage. I think that was different back then. And it's a good question. How much of staying in that marriage, was it about love, or was it about just staying in the marriage?
Yeah,
just to
reputation, or even like your livelihood,
livelihood, exactly. Yeah. And I do feel like it was a thing to be in a marriage back then. It's like it was a status thing.
Yeah,
you had to be, once you're married, you know, keeping that relationship, keeping that marriage was, you know, we'll find out it was more of the woman's job back then, keeping the marriage. The man just kind of present. He provided, but it was the woman that kept the marriage.
Responsible to keep them.
Yeah. So
it was just such a different. I think
time.
If we're talking like the times of my grandparents, it was a different time. Like women were a lot more reliant on the men. And so even when you look at that and say, oh, you know, they were a lot more loyal. Were they really loyal? Were they loyal to the husband, or were they loyal to the lifestyle and the situation they were in? You know, were they loyal to their livelihood? I'm sure they were loyal, many of them loyal to their husbands, but I'm saying there was still a factor there where this is my life and my life is made possible because of my husband. Yeah. And so there is that element of staying in the marriage because that's all you know, and there's not really any other option.
You know?
Yeah. Because if he's the one that works and provides and owns everything, because this is not just Africa as well, even in Europe, even in the UK, America, you know, the husband owned everything, including the wife. She was like his property. So, you know, women's rights and activists fought really hard to kind of detach the ownership of the wife from the husband. And a lot of people don't think about that, you know, when we talk about tradition, that tradition is not just an African thing, that's across the world when men kind of owned women in that way. And so it's like, if someone kind of owned you and everything you owned belonged to that man once you married him, divorcing him was not really an option for you in terms of the kind of life you could live after divorcing him. Whereas now, that's a lot more of an option. So it's like... you have to work at the marriage in order for the woman to want to actually stay and put all of that energy into it.
That's right. And then when you then bring in things like religion as well, it's even harder to break away from a marriage that you're not happy in. So back then, you know, people were more, I believe more people religious, were more religious. They will stay in a marriage, you know, due to religion than they are now.
And we should point out that we're talking about religion and not necessarily spirituality. Religion as an institution, as a kind of way of life, and, you know, doing things according to the religion.
That you belong to.
Not necessarily, because I think a lot of people are very spiritual now. A lot of people are very connected. There's a lot of people that believe in God, but they're probably not as religious as people were in the past. Whereas back then, people were probably not as spiritual, but they were very religious.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Okay, so on the next part, do you think marriage is worth it? If we move on to the next part.
I mean, from all, even just looking at all the stats, and, you know, I know it does look doom and gloom and bleak, but I still believe, yes,
dark.
Marriage is worth 100%. Like, because I do think there is a lot more benefit from being married, and this is just my point of view. This is coming from me as a happily married man.
Not just your point of view, because Frank shared with me a link today where when he was looking at, you know, doing some research for this discussion, and he shared a link with me from www.psychologytoday.com, and it was talking about the benefits of marriage and how men disproportionately benefit from marriage than women.
Yeah, maybe that's probably why I feel very strongly about it. So in my opinion, I do feel like, yes, marriage is worth it, because you do get a lot of benefits from being married. You know, there's a degree of commitment to it, you know, and it's a very selfless thing to do, because the way I see it, I meet a total stranger, I get to know them, I get to love them. This is not someone that's my family, and I want to share the rest of my life with this person, and then having kids, being with my wife, looking after my wife and my kids, it's a very, very selfless act to do. So for me, it's vital to our society, and it's very, very important. I think it's absolutely worth it.
How do you think it shapes you as a man? What do you think marriage has done for you as a man specifically?
Marriage makes you become a man, really, because when you think about it, it's about growing in that relationship. Because it's about growing in that marriage. Because it's one thing to, you know, be your own person, but meeting someone and coexisting with someone, another human being, you know, you getting to know them, getting to love them, getting to share all your deep desires and your deep fears with them. That takes you to another level. So I think for me, it makes you into a man. Like, I definitely makes you into a man. But I personally don't believe that, you know, you're a man until you're married.
Ooh.
I know. Sorry. If
they're not gonna like that. I don't know. Until you're married,
you could be a 40-year-old teenager. No, I'm only joking. No. But
why do you think? Okay, let's explore that. Because why do you think that you're not a man until you're married?
Because it's as I mentioned before, the selflessness, the commitment. Like, if you cannot. That level of commitment is the biggest commitment you can make, to a woman. Is the biggest commitment you can make to a woman. I'm not talking about committing to being a Man United fan and having a valid stadium ticket to watch Man United game. That's not commitment. This is not subscription. You fully commit for, you know, to be with that person for the rest of your life. now.
And you mean it, right?
And you mean it, right?
That kind of
Exactly.
level.
You mean it, right? It's not just about, just, lip service or just saying this thing. So but I know a lot of people could do that. Not a lot of people could do that. So I know that commitment scares some men.
So you think it's a level of like maturity?
It's a maturity
that, it gives you, that you have to have.
Let's just go back to what I said before. Okay, it's not about you becoming a man. I'm not saying that if you're a 40-year-old man out there that you're not married, you're not a man. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But I think it's a different level of maturity. Like, for you to commit yourself, it's a different level of manhood. I think there are levels to it. It's almost like you graduate to that next level of maturity. So I think it's like phases in life. You're a young boy. You grow up, become a teenager. Then you become a man. Then you become a fully grown man. That's
you become a grown ass man.
So that's how I see it. What about you? How do
I think marriage is worth it?
Yeah,
I think marriage is worth it, but I'm sure the guys are like, obviously you think marriage is worth it because you're a woman, but no, there's a lot of women that wouldn't necessarily want to get married. I know women that have not wanted to get married. I myself, when I was younger, didn't want to get married. I used to say to my parents, I'm never getting married, because I saw marriage as something that restricted you. I saw it as something that kind of tried to control you. And that's probably because of my family was very traditionally African, and there was the traditional views of the man is, the head of the house, which is true to some extent. And so it's not that I don't subscribe to that, but growing up as a young African black girl in that environment with loads of uncles and stuff like that, you did get a sense of being secondary to the men. And I think what I didn't really realize that it's not about being afraid of marriage or being afraid of men, or not necessarily being afraid of men, but being afraid of marriage because of the power that it gives men. But it's about marrying the right man for you. So the marriage, when it's with the right man who shares your values, who loves you as a person and respects you as a person, and even though they might be the head of the household, even though they might have their way of doing things and seeing the world, they very much want to blend their life with yours. So they then start to think about the way you view the world and the way you want things to be, and you guys kind of work together. So, being married for as long as we've been married and being together as long as we've been together, for me, marriage is completely worth it because it's the right kind of marriage, and it's because of that, all I get from it is benefits, and not everything is always rosy. I mean, if we're really going to be real, we almost didn't record this episode because just through the process of starting the recording, we already started arguing about like who's going to say what and the intro part and stuff like that. And I actually got upset because it was just frustrating, and it's been a long day. But yeah, Frank was just knew how to like deal with that and how to just get me to go back to my normal self and stuff. So there's always trouble, there's always like drama, but it doesn't have to be the be all and end all of your relationship, because you respect each other and you love each other. So you work together and you navigate through those problems. But it's worth it to me because you have that partner, you have that support system, and you have someone to basically steer your life with.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. The way I say it is like when you meet someone, you almost become like best friends. Like I call it the ultimate best friends. Work with each other, just kind of grow together, and you're there to support each other. And trust me, there's a lot of benefit to it. In a happy marriage, not just any marriage, but in a happy marriage, you're healthier, you're emotionally balanced, you feel more supported. So I believe it's a healthier life.
It is.
So,
and just what you just said about finding someone to grow with and someone to be like your ultimate best friend and stuff. The reality of it is that a lot of people don't have that kind of marriage though. A lot of people around the world get married for different reasons, and their marriage might not actually be one where they're married to their best friend or their partner is their best friend. And I think
it might just be like a process
or an arrangement, or you might have married someone because of the financial security that they would give you, and that's both men and women, because men be out here marrying women for financial security as well. Because women are so independent these days that There's a lot of women that've got a lot to offer men.
That's true.
And there's a lot of men that do the same thing that men accuse women of doing, which is getting with men with money in order to secure the bag, or which is an episode of his own as well. There's a lot of that as well, especially if you look at like, you know, women from abroad marrying men from Africa and stuff like that, which we know a lot about as well, like in our communities. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is some people marry people for other reasons, not just to have that companionship. And I think that's where, like I was saying, it's about marrying the right man for what you want your marriage to be about. So if you're trying to find someone you can build a kind of family with, to like achieve your goals together, you want a partner who's like going to support you, there's nothing to say that you can't have your differences of opinion and stuff, but you should still be able to find common ground and be like close friends. And if you find that this person is not that kind of person, they just want a wife so that they can tick a box, or they just want a husband so that they can, you know, fund their lifestyle, then maybe that's not the woman for you. Maybe that's not the man for you. You need to be looking at the core values. What does this person want a relationship for? And a lot of the times, I don't think people ask other people that. I don't, you know, we talk about what's your favorite color, how many kids do you want, but what do you even want a marriage for?
Do you like? You know, do you cook? Yeah,
that's what Frank asked me.
That's very important. Though,
that's very important. That's what he asked me, like a few days after meeting.
Let's not talk about that. But
can you cook? Like, that's all I'm gonna do for him in his life. I'll just cook.
No, but he's saying that though, like, you know, okay, we've talked about is marriage declining. We've addressed from our point of view, do we think it's worth it? We both agree that it is worth it. But in terms of marriage itself, like, what does it mean to you? Like, as a person, like, what does it mean to you? Because it will mean different things to different people that are married right now, that are listening to this. Like, but what does it mean to you?
So to me, and the interesting thing is, some people can say like, oh, but you can get this without marriage. I actually disagree. I don't think you can get what I think marriage means to me without marriage. So to me, marriage is a declaration to the world that you're going to be with this person for the rest of your life. Right. So the reason why I don't think you can get that without marriage, and even if you don't have a big wedding or whatnot, but the reason why I don't think you can get that without marriage is because you can agree within yourselves that you're going to be together or build a family or build a life or anything like that. But it's very much an agreement between you and that person that's just kind of just something that the two of you know, or other people can kind of insinuate by the way you two live your lives. But when you step in front of the world and you say to people at the altar or at the registry office, and you say, I want to marry this woman, you go and file papers, you're legally married, you're basically saying to whom it may concern that this woman or this man is someone that I'm committed to. And you're basically telling the world, hold me accountable. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think there's anything like that, because when you're then navigating that relationship and you're together, you always remember that level of commitment that you have to each other. And even sometimes when things go wrong or you argue and whatever, that day that you made that commitment before your family, before your friends, before God, if you're religious or spiritual, that day always plays in your mind when things go wrong, or when you're not sure, or when you feel upset, because it's that level of commitment that just surpasses anything. It's the highest level of commitment you can have to anybody, any other human being. So to me, marriage is about the ultimate commitment, and it's about a lifelong partnership, a lifelong companion, you know, because that's what you're going into it saying. Nobody gets married to get divorced unless they were getting married for other reasons, getting married for, you know, the person's money and then to divorce them after a few years. So, but people who genuinely love the person they're marrying, they don't marry them to divorce them.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with that. Yeah, and I mean, I made a reference to, you know, finding that best friend. For me, I think marriage is like you said, is the ultimate commitment, because as a man, like, you know, you in your time growing up, you would have met different women, different girls, but you've now decided that out of all these women, all these girls, this is the one that I've chosen. This is the one. This is the one for me. This is the one I'm prepared. This is why there's a certain maturity there to say, I will now stop hunting. Yeah, there's no more hunting. There's lots of meat in the fridge. Yeah, this is the woman. This you understand? Because they say we always hunting. We always want to prey. Yeah.
Men are hunters.
Yeah, we are hunters.
Extent.
We are hunters.
You know, you
but
guys pick.
We've now decided that this is our final catch.
Wow, catch.
We're hunters.
No, right?
And we're no longer hunting anymore. This is it. Like,
some men are out there hunting. Still.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't be. But this is it. Like, you know, I'm no longer looking outside. This is my woman now. This is the person I want to grow with. This is the person that I have now deciding that I'm gonna, like you said, I'm gonna tell the whole world I do to this person.
Yeah,
I'm ready to commit to this person. It's till the end. Yeah, total commitment. It's a total commitment. I said before, there's people out there that are scared of total commitment. And marriage is not for everyone. It's not for everyone. Like, there are people that think about marriage and they don't see the point of doing it. They see it as a case of, it's too much commitment. Then fine. Like, but you have to be open when you meet someone that is interested in getting married. You have to have that open conversation. This is why I think a lot of young people nowadays do not have that conversations. They don't have that. They don't dive into this kind of conversation. I remember when we first met, those were part of our conversations that we were having. Do you want to get married? Do you want to have kids? We were having this conversation very, very early on. So because we needed to establish if you were not serious or if I was not serious.
We had that conversation,
and we continue to have it down the years, just to check if your plans has changed or if my plans has changed. Just to double check that we're still on the same page. Something that you constantly do. And even when you're married, you're still checking up on that person to check that they're still sane. Is everything all right with you? So that's what marriage means to me. I think it's very, very important.
What would you say is like the best part about being married? What do you love the most about being married as opposed to just kind of being in a relationship or still being single?
I'll touch up again on the commitment. I think it's the commitment. And for me, there's a certain peace as well. Because hunting is tiring, right? It's a lot of work, right? It's hard work. So let's be honest. It's like, the constant...
But let's clarify. Why do you refer to a marriage as... why are you referring to it as hunting? Because people are going to want to know, why do you keep talking about hunting? Why do you see it as hunting? I want to know.
Come on back. When I say hunting, I'm just talking about dating women. Like, if you're trying to find the right thing, like when we talk about job, you're going to talk about job hunting, right? Is that's okay to talk about hunting as part of a job, but it's the same thing. You're looking for the right job, you're looking for the right woman, so you're hunting for the right thing. You're hunting for the right woman. So that's why I refer to it as hunting for the right woman. Sorry if I've offended anyone out there.
No.
But I just trying to put it out there. But that's why I made a reference to that, because there are guys out there that they take that very seriously. They've got a process in place for how they trying to find the person that they want to be with. So you've got to hunt for the right job. You've got to hunt for the right person that you want to be with.
Yeah. Okay, so your what you love the most is the commitment not having to
the commitment. It's the peace of mind. It's the knowing that you have that one person that loves you for who you are. Things will change in your life, but that person is there to love you through it.
Yeah. I guess we also just need to kind of make sure that we make it clear that when we're talking about marriage as well, we're talking about kind of monogamous marriage. But there's all types of marriages as well. Even if you think of like monogamy is all about two people in one committed relationship with each other and each other only. Any kind of relationship with someone else outside of that is adultery. And then you have like polygamy, which is probably, the kind of relationship I could say my grandfather probably had. Well, not probably, kind of relationship my grandfather had, where it's like you're married to one woman, but then you're married to another woman and you're married to another woman. He had like 3 wives. And sometimes that polygamous relationship, the women will exist in one big household. Sometimes they will have their own separate households as well. But the notion was that, the man can marry more than one wife. What's your take on the difference between the two, and kind of why do you think that we are now gravitating, or the world gravitates a lot more towards monogamy, when just a few hundred years back, polygamy is probably the norm.
I mean, for me, it's if the woman is happy to be in the polygamous, relationship, then yeah, like kudos to her. It's like but it's when they are forced into that, or when situation puts them in that position, and then they don't have a choice, or when religion forces them to be in that situation, and that's not what they want, then it becomes a bit of for me.
But just to clarify on what you say about religion, I have to point out that even, probably one of the most known religions when it comes to polygamy is Islam. And technically, you shouldn't just marry another woman without your wife kind of being happy with it and consenting to it. So
I understand that.
I think there is kind of like a stereotype or the misconception that, if you're in a polygamous relationship in Islam, the woman doesn't have a choice. She might not, and there might be circumstances where she doesn't, but that's not actually how, and I'm not Muslim, but I must say I have a very close Muslim friend, and I know that that's not the way it's supposed to be done. So your wife is supposed to consent to it, and that you're supposed to make sure that you treat all the wives equally and stuff like that. So I don't want to touch too much on polygamy and stuff, because we only know about monogamy because we're in a monogamous relationship. But just to point out that, there's different types of marriages, and I'm of the view that you have to do what works for you, and you have to make sure that you're happy with the kind of marriage you're in. And if polygamy is the kind of marriage that works for you, or it's something that makes sense, I don't think that that's something that should be shunned, or people should see it as being so strange, because our forefathers were polygamous and they were in polygamous marriages. And like we said before, some of those women might not have necessarily wanted to be in those relationships. So we can't say for sure, but it was a lot more the norm back then. But I just wanted to kind of touch on that, because I didn't want us to just talk about monogamy and monogamous relationships and just ignore the fact that there's all types of marriages. We can't speak to that as an experience, but I just wanted to kind of point that out and get your views on it and why you think.
Yeah, do let us know, what you think.
Yeah, what you think. Like how much would you say polygamy still plays a role in today's society? It would be interesting to kind of get your comments on that, and, email us or send us a DM. It would be good to kind of hear a bit more about different types of marriages from people who have that experience. I guess the next question, or the next point that we wanted to touch on, is what should someone know? What do we think someone, and I'll let Frank speak to the men, and I can speak to women. What do they need to know before getting into a marriage? What kind of questions do they need to ask themselves? Or what would we say you need to absolutely know before you get into a marriage?
I think some of the key things to know, I think one is to self-analyze. First of all, is marriage really what you want? Is marriage for you?
That part.
Because there is no point trying to it's not even about the next person, it's about you first. Do I want to get married? If the answer is yes, okay, great. Then why do I want to get married? Can I commit to a marriage?
Yeah.
You might be someone that, that likes to get them and not necessarily, no, I'm being real. I'm being real. There's nothing, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that. That's you, do you. But when you want to take that next step, you have to think, can I commit to someone else? Can I just put everything away, the current life that I'm kind of leaving? I'm going to leave all of this behind. I'm going to take this next step and be with this person without all the baggage that I had before. I'm just going to start a new life with this person. Can you do that? Because not a lot of people could do that, because they're in a certain lifestyle right now that they think is going to continue forever. And when they get with someone, they bring that lifestyle on to that relationship or to that marriage. It doesn't quite work like that. If you're with someone right now, you should be thinking, right, are we both on the same page about marriage?
Yeah.
Because you might want to get married, but they don't want to get married. How does that work?
Yeah.
Is that going to work? Probably not.
Not in terms of marriage.
And another thing is, don't be in the point of trying to convince them to get married. It's a case of if they don't want to get married, I can't see if there's a lot that can be done about that.
Yeah.
You've got to find someone that's on the same page.
You're not on the same page. That's a clear indication that you're not on the same page. I mean, I must admit, as women, well, I wouldn't say necessarily myself, but women do that sometimes. We feel like we've picked the man we want that man, and then it's about making that man into the man that you want him to be, so that he can be the man that you're going to end up married to and stuff. And
even if he's not interested in getting married,
even if he's not the right kind of man. And that's one thing I can honestly say. I never thought of marriage in that way. I very much wanted to marry someone that wanted to marry me. So because of that, I was very clear, even when we started dating, right, that I'm dating to get married. I'm dating because I always used to say I wanted to be with the man I'm going to marry for a long time before I married him. And that's just because I felt like I wanted us to be friends. And I felt like the longer we know each other, the closer we'll get. And then, the easier it is for us to be true friends. And because of that, even though I met Frank quite young, I was very clear that I wanted to be married. I was very clear that I wanted us to have that kind of friendship with me. And if he wasn't in that headspace, then I wouldn't even have continued with that relationship. We wouldn't have continued dating.
And I think we were pretty on the same page.
Yeah.
Right? Because obviously I was ready to get married, or not ready at that time.
He wasn't ready to get married.
But I wanted to get married. I wanted to have
future.
Kids
and
whatnot. So I think that worked out really well for us because we were both on the same page. I think we were really fortunate enough to be on the same page.
As from a woman's perspective, there's a part of me that thinks about me when I was getting married, when Frank and I got married, and the kind of fairy tale I felt would just kind of unfold based on the fact that we're now married. And I'm sure people say this all the time, but marriage is not a fairy tale. It's literally two people coexisting. You're gonna get on each other's nerves. That's like guaranteed, because two human beings coexisting in the same place will get on each other's nerves at some point. And those things are just natural in a marriage. So for me, it's about knowing that, and knowing that you're going into something where you're going to need to really kind of be realistic about it. I'm not saying put up with gibberish, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying lower your standards, don't have standards, let a man do whatever he wants or nothing. But I think there is something about knowing that it's actually going to be quite a bit of work. I think you find ways to make it work for both of you, so that it's balanced and it's equal.
Yeah.
So
and also, so just to touch on that, I believe you will have less work to do in the marriage if most of the work was done pre-marriage.
Yep.
Especially during the relationship. This is why it's important to find your best friend. It's got to be someone that has close to the same interest as you. You've got to have some form of interest, like together, like several interests, like, oh, me and this person, we love movies, or we love this together, we love that together.
Not necessarily everything.
Not everything, but just some things like, that you can both do together. Hence, when you are married and there are things you need to work on, it just makes life a little bit easier for the both of you.
Yeah.
You're not getting married and then starting all over again. It pays to do that work at the beginning. Because once you're then married, working through issues, I believe is easier.
Yeah.
It will become easier.
That is the perfect place for me to segue into standards, because I talk a lot about standards and having standards before you're married, when you're single, having standards, when you're in a relationship, having standards, when you're married, having standards. And that doesn't mean like having ridiculously high standards and that's impossible for people to meet. But I mean, being clear on what you want from the person you're with. So if you're single, it's about knowing and being clear on what you will and won't tolerate. Like that includes like how you're spoken to. It includes how they treat you around other people. It includes the kind of person that they are overall, their mannerisms or, have standards.
It doesn't matter how tiny it is.
Yeah, how minuscule it is.
Yeah, because it becomes that minuscule, tiny little thing becomes huge when you're married.
Yeah.
Everything becomes huge when you're married. So it doesn't matter how small it is. You've just got to, it's something that needs to be ironed out. Yeah.
Very early on, you need to be clear on what you want. And I think I don't think that's emphasized enough. I think in today's day and age, it's very much about, well, I need a man who can do this. I need a woman that can do this. I need submission. But it's like, yeah, you need all those things from your partner. But at the same time, how are you navigating dating to make sure that you have the kind of partner that's right for you, and not consistently arguing with people online about what all men should be or what all women should be? It's like, what kind of men are you moving around? That, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you want a man that respects women, like, why are you even entertaining men that don't respect women? Why are you even like engaging with those kind of men? And the same thing with men. If you want a woman that you carries herself a certain way, then why even entertain women that are not of that caliber to you as a man? You know, there's other men that those women will be perfect for.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true.
So to me, it's about, don't try and fit a square peg into a circle hole. Try and find the right person for what you need, because there's all types of men out here and there's all types of women out here, and none of them are wrong in my opinion. It's just they need to find the right match for them.
I agree.
And so that's why standards come in.
It is very, very important.
Come into it.
Yeah, it's very, very important. And I think you said about set your stand. I think you should set your standards high.
Yeah.
Set it high as you yourself think it should be, because don't lower it. Don't try to just settle and just be like, okay, maybe I'm raising my standard a bit too high. No. What you've decided to do at that first instant, what comes naturally, what's come natural to you, stick to that. And if you're finding that guys are not meeting those standards, or girls are not meeting those standards, then maybe you're looking in the wrong places.
Yeah.
Maybe it's how you are looking. You have to. Just what I said earlier about self-analysis. You've got to do that. You've got to continue doing that, but never drop your standards. Just keep your standards where it is.
If you drop your standards, it's true, in the marriage, you're going to feel it. You're going to feel that you dropped your standards, and you're going to be like, dang, how do I fix this?
And if a man or a woman loves you, they will meet your standards.
Yeah.
If they want to be with you, they will see your standards and be like, oh, okay. Is that how she's going on? Is that how she... Okay, I see. But you know what? This is how I feel about her. I'm going to step up my game. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no need to start like,
And Frank was very much like that. I mean, if we're bringing it back to like our experiences, because it's not just about like lip service to people on this podcast. Frank was definitely that guy. Like, he hadn't been in a serious relationship before. So some of the stuff that I used to ask for in the beginning, like phone calls every day, to him was like foreign. He was like, he didn't even like talking on the phone. He still doesn't like talking on the phone. and his whole thing was like every day, like, but because it wasn't normal to him. But because he understood that was my standard, I was all about us building a friendship, about getting to know each other. And I need to know what your day was like. I need to know how you're feeling, like what went well today, how do you feel about it and stuff like that. So I wanted to catch up every day. And in the beginning it was hard for him. He wasn't on that. And I was like, well, if you're not on that, then I don't think it's going to work, because we need to have that connection. And when he saw that, he was like, okay, I'll fix that. I'll try, and he tried, and he got used to it, right?
Yeah, I did get used to it, yeah. and in Nora's case as well, like, standards, I like my jollof rice made a certain way. And, Nora being Congolese,
right?
Dating someone that's Nigerian, she stepped up her game. She knew how much I like my jollof rice.
Shout out to Harriet and Precious.
How I like my plantain. And she stepped up and she started making it. Like, this is someone that's not even married yet, but she stepped up. She saw the food that I like to make. No.
I wasn't married, but I wasn't slaving away.
No, she wasn't slaving away.
She was just trying something.
She knew that the bag was secured already. Like, so,
whatever.
But always saying is that,
I did go to your sister to learn how to make jollof, because I was like, nah, he's gonna want nice jollof, and I can make it. If his sisters can make it, and his sisters and his mom make the nice jollof, he'd always like that. And I wanted to match that. I wanted him to feel comfortable when he eats his jollof.
So when you have that, wow, what more do you need? So don't drop your standard. Like, keep your standards where they are.
Wait, would you not have married me if I wasn't making jollof?
That's a different topic for another day. I'm just no, come on, but you know what I'm saying though. It would have taken you, even if you weren't making it right, it would have taken you several attempts to get it right.
Right.
Anyways, right. Hopefully you would have got it right by the time we got married.
Otherwise, she would have been like, I don't think we can do this. This is not gonna work. Yeah, no.
But standards is very important. I think it literally cuts across like from dating, as you said already, dating, in a relationship, married, and even when you're married, like the standards, you have to keep up the standards. It's not a case of like you're now married, everything goes. No. You have to keep checking each other. You have to continue checking each other. That's very, very important.
Yeah.
You have to keep checking it, because I find myself, we've been married a while now, and certain things I have a different opinion of. Like, I don't want to eat certain things. I don't want to, I want certain things made certain way. And Nuria's adapted well to that. She could have even said to me like, no, I'm not gonna do that. Like, yeah, but you stepped up to that.
It wasn't easy though.
I know it wasn't easy, but
it wasn't easy, because Frank be changing up what he eats all the time. Like, he doesn't eat eggs anymore, which I still,
Must we go into this?
Yeah, we need to go into him not eating eggs. Me and him we stay beefing over that. And there was a time when I used to make him his fry up in the morning with the eggs and everything, and now he don't eat that.
Anyways, guys out there, you know what it is. When you get to a certain age, you have to start watching what you eat, right? Right, exactly. So you got to drop certain things.
Yeah, no, he changed a lot of stuff, and it's true. Like, he kind of upped his standard on what he eats, and we had to just accommodate that. So yeah, you're right.
You should never ever drop your standards. There's no point looking at it saying that, oh yeah, maybe my standards are too high, no one's gonna meet that standard. Never drop it, because the way I see it is that when you're applying for a job, that job has, roles and responsibilities. You know what you're coming into that job to do. So you got to set your standards a certain level that, someone picks up that description and say, rah, okay, this is what this person is after, this girl's looking for. Can I do this role? Can I be this person? Can I apply for this job? Yeah.
Do I meet the standards?
Yeah. Do I meet the standards? If I don't meet the standards, because you will look at a job and you're thinking, I'm not qualified for this job. Step out. You cannot do that job. Just leave. Yeah, but if you look at it like I'm capable of doing this job, you have the confidence,
and it's worth it.
It is worth it.
What you're gonna get,
exactly,
the benefits,
exactly. Right? If you have to do extra training to be able to be fit for that job, you do the training needed. Understand?
This accent you keep bringing in.
The moral of the story is never drop your standards. Keep it where it's at.
Yeah, because it's true. That job description is that way for a reason. You don't get employers changing their job description.
Yeah, you don't apply for a job and then say that, oh yeah, hi Frank, we've employed you to be a program manager, and that's it. Where is it?
Make of that what you will.
You do whatever you want to do. Okay, what about the job description? What am I supposed to be doing in this role? What's the target? What am I aiming to achieve here? What do you want me to achieve for this company? And
it's true, if you do go into a job where all they're giving you is a job title, you're going to make of that job title whatever you will. You're going to take liberties.
Yeah. You're going to be making tea and getting paid for it. You can do whatever you want to do. So,
yeah. It's so true. That's such a good analogy. Yeah. That is how it should be in relationships. You should know what you're trying to get from your applicants.
Yeah. And I must point this out. This goes for both male and female. This is not just a female thing. Guys, don't drop your standards. You understand? You know what you need, what you want. The
kind of woman you want.
But while you're raising your standard, be ready to meet her standards as well. Yeah. Her one might be higher than yours. Be ready to reach that standard.
Yeah, 100%. No, I love that. That's so true. So that is what should someone know before getting married? So your whole thing is you need to know whether or not you're ready to settle down.
Yeah.
Is marriage really what you want? Are you getting married for yourself? You're getting married for the gram? Are you getting married for your parents? So you got to be getting married for yourself. It's true. I can second that. You got to get married for yourself, because no one's going to be in that marriage with you. Nobody's going to be there trying to deal with the problems with you. So it has to be something that you want for yourself. Otherwise, you will quickly head to the exit. You will head for the exit. You'll be divorcing, signing papers, because you're just married for the wrong reasons, And it's okay. There's people, and that's the thing. Marriage is such a staple in society that I sometimes feel like some people just get married because they feel like everybody else is getting married. It's like, no, there are people out there that don't want to get married. So if you don't want to get married, you can probably meet someone that doesn't want to get married too, and the two of you can coexist without getting married.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
True. And you can still live a healthy
life unmarried.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's true.
You can. But it's about knowing yourself and knowing what you want, and finding someone who matches that. And you can only find someone who matches that when you're very clear about who you are and what you want.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
Yeah. And for me, it's like, okay, what do women need to know? As cliche as it sounds, it's not all going to be fairy tales. You know, I grew up around Cinderella, Little Mermaid, Sleeping Beauty, Disney girl. Definitely, I grew up in the 90s. So there's definitely that element of, oh, I'm going to meet my Prince Charming and we're just going to be like happy. And that's all good and well. And in a way, I do feel like I have that. But there's a lot of work that goes into it. I mean, nobody even knows what happened with Cinderella when she went off into the carriage with her.
She was arguing. They were arguing.
No, I'm sure they weren't. But yeah, there's reality to this stuff. And
yeah, you just got to be real. You've just got to be real with yourself and real with who you're with. Yeah. But never drop your standards for anyone. Don't think, oh, for him, because you might feel a certain way about someone, and because of that person, you then start letting things slide. You start you drop your standard a bit because of you really want to be with that person.
You really want to make it work.
Yeah. You want
and
them
everybody
to pass
said
that
it's going
test.
to be hard work. Yeah. So you just be dropping standards.
Yeah.
No, that's not. That's not what it's about.
That's not. It's not the way at all.
Yeah.
Because all of that will catch up with you once you get to that relationship, or once you're married.
Yeah.
You'll realize that, oh yes, those were red flags.
Yep.
That should have been ironed out before the marriage, or before the relationship. Yeah.
For sure. Okay, so we have covered, do we think marriage is declining? Do we think marriage is worth it, and why? What does marriage mean to us? What should someone know, male or female, before getting into a marriage? And a few other things along the way, like standards and how to kind of approach it. So I think that's it. I think that wraps it up.
Yeah, but do let us know what you think. If you disagree with what we've said, if there's anything we've said that you think, okay, I don't agree with that, or I agree with that, and because of X, Y, Z, just do let us know.
Yeah, engage with us on our social media, especially on Instagram and stuff like that. Send us DMs or comments, etc. It would be great to hear from the community and like people who listen to us, which is still crazy. Even though this is just our second episode, it's really cool to know that we like speaking to people who are actually listening and taking some of this on board. And like we say, take what you need from it. This is just our views, and we're one couple, and we like to think we're fair and balanced, but at the same time, our view comes from our experiences. So take what you need from it. So that's it, guys. You've heard both of our views on whether marriage is declining, whether or not it's worth it, what it means to us, and we've also touched on what you need to know before getting married from our perspective. We appreciate everyone that takes the time to listen to our podcast, and we're super grateful for all your engagement with us. We really hope you tune into the next episode, where we'll be taking on the infamous, typical social media relationship question: who is the prize?
Can't wait for that.
And don't forget to email us any of your questions, comments, or dilemmas at itt.thepodcast@gmail.com, or send us a DM on Instagram at ITT Podcast, or one word. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we'll speak to you on the next one.
Bye.